disclaimer. And I really apologize, but you've heard me say when the Lord screams at you, you better listen. This morning's message was written, was printed, was ready to go, and then the screaming began. I am putting my faith in the Lord because apparently God, through whatever means, has put into my mind that there's another message to be shared today, and it fits very well with what's going on. So it's not going to be as flowery, and maybe not as smooth and flowing as it usually is. Hopefully is. But I want you to understand that this is a message that was being given to me starting last night and very much into this morning. So I want to put that disclaimer out there. Tuesday night, consistory gathered for a couple hours. And one of our big objectives was to take a look at what members of consistory have been working on over the last month. And that was to develop a mission statement for the new church. For Crossroads Fellowship. All right, thanks. Come on, Lord, help me here. For Crossroads Fellowship, a new mission statement for us to be able to grab hold of. And the team of Jan and Jim Burke and Jim Lavelle and Katie, they did a great job of getting it almost there. They brought together a statement that was about 90% done. And so we're sitting there and we're talking about it Tuesday night, and somebody puts in a suggestion that just kind of made it flow. So here is, for the most part, what the new mission statement is going to be. We are to be a church of the community, guiding those in the crossroads of their lives to know Christ through gathering in prayer and worship, through connecting in study, fellowship, and outreach, and serving to fulfill the great mission of building God's kingdom. We liked it. And the 3 points that come through there, gathering, connecting, serving, kept coming up over and over and over. It's a great role for us to live into. It gives us an understanding of what we are to do. And the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Because if you look at our worship service, we start the first part of our worship service by gathering in God's presence. We gather together, we come, we ask for forgiveness, we lift our praise to God. And so the first part of our service is just that. It is to gather. In fact, if you look at your bulletins, nice big letters. We gather together. So the first part is gathering. Then we come to hear God's word as well. We look to connect with God, to hear what God has in store for us. But we don't just connect with God. Yes, we come to hear what God has to say for us, to us, with us. But we connect with each other. We spend time as a family in God's presence. As individual units, as you see the families with their children sitting alongside them, husband and wives, but even extended as God's family, we connect with each other. We spend time with each other to share, to hear, to listen, to care for each other. We connect with God. And then the third part of the service is our direction to serve. The last part of the service, we listen to what God has to say and how it calls us to go out and to serve this afternoon, throughout the week. How are we to serve locally, abroad? And so the 3 points of gathering, connecting, and serving are very much who we are and what we do. But it didn't end there. And God put that out there before the disciples. And so the passage in the bulletin is not the passage, but rather from Matthew 4, verses 18 through 22. It's the calling of the first disciples, where Jesus went out and actually gathered his disciples. And so we hear these words. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. "Come, follow me," Jesus said, "and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. And Jesus called them. And immediately they left the boats and their father and followed him. Jesus called them to gather. But what isn't shared in there is the cultural context of what this calling means. You see, in the Hebrew tradition, you were brought up at the age of 13, 14, I think it's 14. You had your bar mitzvah, or bat mitzvah. But the guys who would then, confess their faith. But then, if you were a really good student, having studied up to that age, you might be invited to come study under a rabbi, to come study with a teacher. And so the teacher would then come up to you and would say, "Dave, I want you to come follow me." And if you accepted, you would then come be with the rabbi, and you would follow him, you would gather with him, you would learn from him, you would connect with him, and you would serve under him. If you weren't one of the top students, and we're talking the top of the top, the elite students, you would be told, "Thank you for your study," and you would go back to your family, and you would follow the family trade. And so Simon and Andrew and James and John had all been released, if you will, to go back and become farmers. They weren't smart enough to be asked to come follow. And so when Jesus comes up to them and says, "Dave, will you come follow me?" This is an honor. This is an honor that a teacher, a rabbi, has asked them to come follow. And there were only 12 of them. This was an elite group. we are asked, will you come follow? Christ asks us, will we come follow him? That doesn't mean you have to come up here. But are you willing to accept and listen to the teachings? Are you willing to gather with him, connect with him? And as we know the disciples did, serve for him. But God wasn't done hollering at me this week, because he got me this morning. And you're going to hear this in a few moments. From the order of the ordination and installation of elders and deacons. Hear these words. Section part of the deacon's charge. Just going to find the right spot here. Deacons are asked, as deacons, will you faithfully, diligently, and cheerfully manifest Christ's love and care, gather and distribute the offerings of God, of God's people? So gathering is part of the deacon's call. Visit and comfort the distressed, connecting with people who are in need. Minister to the poor and needy and strive to advance God's reign of justice and service. Seek for serving. Deacons are called to gather, to connect, and to serve. Bob, I don't mean to put a big challenge on you this morning, because it's not just you. Because that same charge goes to each and every one of us. Because we are all charged with gathering God's offerings, whether they are given through us in our talents, but we are to collect them and to be stewards of them, to care for them. We are to connect with people, not just here in this space, but our neighbors, our children's friends, the people we meet at the pool, the person standing behind us in the grocery store. We're to connect with them. We're not to be individual, separate, apart. Although we are placed apart as holy people of God, holy children of God. We are to connect with others so that they too can come to understand. But we are to serve. When we see a need, we are to serve. To step out, to address, to help resolve. You see, we are. Our new mission is really one that has been given by Christ. It is one that is not that hard to live into if we focus on those three pillars of what God calls the deacons. Those who serve, who protect. We are called to gather. We are called to connect. We are charged to serve. That's what God asks for his people. He asks from his people. We are God's people. To God be the glory. Now and forever. Lord, we give thanks for your word. we move forward with our church here on this corner, which is a part of your greater church. Help us to do just as you have asked us. To gather together, to connect with you and those who are so in need of knowing your grace and your love, and to serve. To serve you with glory and honor, to serve those who are just looking for some understanding of what you can bring to them. We ask all of this in your holy name.